Hello YouTube, the Big Daddy D is here. We're back in Poundland again to take a look and see what lives on the bargain shelves. Do you know what does live on the bargain shelves? That's right, even more dodgy looking action figures. We've got wrestling figures, we've got superheroes, we've got Poundland Pirates. Let's take a look at them all individually and have a good point and laugh.
So, first up for this roundup of original Poundland figures from our friends at Fantastic is a line called Journey to Creation, or Beast Warrior. They can't seem to make up their minds on that one. These ones have all got the same theme going. They're anthropomorphic, animal-human hybrids with some medieval-looking weaponry and terrible, terrible paint jobs done on them. There are 6 to collect, should you be insane, so let's take a look at each one, shall we? As soon as the packaging doesn't actually tell you what these characters' names are, I'm going to make up my own based solely on their appearance. First up, Eagle Man with big ears. Yeah. What's with the ears? Well anyway, he has a big sword and he wears armour that makes him look like a knight. However, unlike a knight, part of his armour appears to have a face on his crotch, which is something that continues on to the rest of the figures in this range. Shrieking Wolf Boy looks quite mutated here. If the paint job was properly applied here, then this figure might have looked quite good. But alas, it appears that his teeth actually extend completely out of his mouth and come down his face. Also, his clothing and armour have been sort of half painted on, like the person who was doing it just really wanted to go home early from the Fantastic factory. Oh, and he also has a crossbow that appears to be too big to actually fit in his hand. Good work there. Pigman Knight comes with a shield, and that's it. What, no sword to go with it? Or maybe he's planning on using those terribly painted and horribly mangled looking tusks as a weapon. Dead looking goat thing doesn't seem to be going anywhere because he appears to be dead already and has been dead for quite some time. The Minotaur has got himself a large axe here and what appears to be a just as large bull's head codpiece thing as the only item of clothing that's covering his private parts. Ew. And this fashion sense seems to be spreading, as this green-skinned beardy bloke with a horned head also carries around a big axe and wears a large horned skull across his meat and 2 veg. Just the sort of toy that every child wants to play with, I should imagine. Also courtesy of Fantastic are these SWAT action figures, which continue the trend of bad paint jobs. First up, we've got this guy with a helmet and night vision goggles, which are flipped up. I don't think you'll be able to flip them back down again, so you just know that's going to be the first bit that gets broken off as soon as a child starts playing with it. He also has a shotgun that is literally as big as he is, and very unlikely to actually fit in his hand. This next guy looks like someone out of the Virtual Cop games, but that look is spoilt completely by the person who painted it having seemingly no freaking idea what a pair of sunglasses looks like. He also comes with a gun that's far too big for the figure to hold. It seems to be a recurring theme here. Then there's this guy, with a helmet and night vision goggles on, who is crouched down in a really peculiar position, like he's about to take a shit or something. Finally, we've got this poor bugger, who I imagine is supposed to look like he's got one eye closed to look down the barrel of his gun, but that was obviously too much for the Fantastic figure painters to deal with, so he's been painted to look like he literally only has one eye. The horror! Next up, it's Universal Hero. Yes, really, because calling them Hero of the Universe obviously wouldn't have made any bloody sense, right? This first one is obviously going for that Captain America / Iron Patriot look, but with an added cape, and with a face that's been reused from some of those Poundland ninjas we saw in one of my previous Poundland specials. The next figure is exactly the same as the last one, only this time with a black and gold colour scheme, which I believe is Iron Man's colour scheme in the Marvel Comics at the moment. Oh yes, and for some reason this particular figure also has the logo from Power Rangers Operation Overdrive. Then there is this horribly bright red and yellow one, which I suppose is going to be their equivalent to Spider-Man, and I want it to go away because it actually looks radioactive. Also, the packaging seems to indicate that the figures come with weapons, and that is not the case here. Naughty, naughty Poundland. Oh well, if they were like any of the other figures featured here today, then they probably wouldn't be able to hold the weapons anyway. Poundland also got in some additional wrestling figures after my last Bootleg wrestling figure special, so let's take a look at them now. First up, we've got this chap that's got Dragon written above his crotch, which I'm sure we've seen before in some of these other Poundland wrestling figures. To be honest, he looks more like an MMA fighter than a wrestler. Good thing about this, he actually comes with a championship belt that looks half decent. Bad thing is that the moulding on this figure is so bad, I can't tell if the monstrosity carved on top of his head is supposed to be his hair, or a black towel like what Taz used to have back in his ECW days. Grrr. This next guy is a mishmash of previous Poundland wrestlers. He's got the bad looking tiger tattoo on his chest that the Tiger George Michael had. He's got the Rey Mysterio knockoff tights with the Rock's logo on, again from a previous figure, and his head looks like a reject from a Mad Max movie. Even for Poundland, this is a lazy effort. But this one, on the other hand, is something completely different. It's a wrestling figure with vampire fangs! So either Poundland decided to combine WWE and Twilight together, or they just decided to rip off Gangrel, if anyone remembers him. He also appears to have tattoos like Batista for some reason. Unfortunately, the look is completely ruined by having the name Andrea written on his belt. Isn't that a girl's name? Otherwise, it's absolutely brilliant. Probably. Oh, and there's a couple of angry wrestlers, which are really just spinning tops with faces painted on them, and a couple of serrated daggers. Don't know what wrestling you've been watching, mate.
Oh yeah.
Power Steel
Collect
collects them all, the newest action series.
Where there's silver stuff, or then we can fight.
Tough dude with a machine gun. This guy. What outfit is that?
I don't know, it looks like they can only afford half a t-shirt.
Apparently that's what we're meant to be. Someone's
Metal.
like,
Stolen artwork.
fire,
Earth.
air, water. By your powers combined, I am.
They don't even have the sad onion on.
Don't even have a brand on.
No.
Not even a fun
Specifications. Colours may vary. Well, no, not really, because you can see what you're bloody getting in the box.
From illustrations.
Hmm.
Yeah.
From illustrations, yeah.
Quite a flop.
No shit, Sherlock. It's Lance time. It's a gardening set. It's obviously been inspired by Plants vs Zombies. Just an excuse to sell some cheap plastic tap, really.
Yep.
Now at one point, Poundland looked like it couldn't get enough of dodgy looking wrestling figures, bootleg transformers like this deformation fighter, and cheapo ninjas / Power Ranger knockoffs like these Super Ninjas, which have been the only ninja related thing in Poundland for quite some time. It seems that now Poundland has got itself a new favourite toy. With that in mind, we're going to take a look now at the Poundland Pirates. This first range, called Pirates of the Sea, because obviously you get Pirates of the Sky and Pirates of the Desert and Pirates of
The underworld.
the Underworld and Pirates of your local shopping centre. These are somewhat smaller figures than some of the other tat we've seen in Poundland recently, and they come in little plastic boxes as opposed to being on card like traditional action figures are. This first one, I'll assume, is the captain due to his large hat. Although the rest of the crew probably just gave it to him in order to cheer him up. Who else would follow Captain Derp on a high seas adventure? Well, let's take a look at the rest of his crew, and yes, they look just as derpy as their captain, including this one, who decided to draw a scar on his face with a marker pen. This next one is quite ill-looking and rather scrawny, which I suppose some pirates were, but he doesn't exactly look like he could handle himself in a scrap now, does he? In fact, he looks about as flimsy as the packaging he came in, and he appears to have stabbed himself in the face whilst applying his eyeshadow. This next guy has a giant head and giant arms in proportion to the rest of his body, and a beard that doesn't appear to have been painted on straight. Same goes with the cuffs, which looks absolutely bloody huge on him. The next guy is also the victim of a bad paint job, as his eyes appear to be trying to escape from the rest of his head, and one of them is far bigger than the other. And then we have another range of pirate action figures currently sitting on the shelves of Poundland. These ones are called the Deadly Ocean, or Pirates Grimm. Again, make up your bloody mind, fantastic. This particular one looks like the pirate LeChuck from the Monkey Island games, only he's gone for a double hook in place of his severed hand rather than the traditional single hook that pirates are usually seen to have. Also, the quality of these particular figures are a little questionable, as a number of these LeChuck lookalike figures had their arms coming off loose and rattling around inside the packaging. Quality checking? Haha! What's that? Here we've got a ginger ponytailed man with an axe on a chain, and an arm that appears to be made out of wood. How come this guy gets a fake arm with fingers and everything, but the others just have hook hands instead? Another ginger pirate is next. This one's got orange fuzz growing out of his neck, and what appears to be a dirty Sanchez across his upper lip. Well, it certainly doesn't look like facial hair, that's for damn sure. Next up is a bald man with some stitching in his head, perhaps he's recently had a lobotomy or something, and a selection of tattoos. He also looks suitably pissed off as well, probably because he's trying to figure out what happened to his brain. This set also has a couple of zombie pirates. First up is this desiccated corpse with all sorts of weapons on him, including a trident for a hand instead of a hook. And then we've got this two-headed rotting monstrosity, which looks really good but unfortunately comes with no weapons. Unless, of course, you count the dagger that's stuck in one of its heads. However, all of these pale into comparison to the last one that we're going to take a look at today. It's Pirate Adolf Hitler who wears a purple crocodile suit. Yes, really. For once, words fail me. This is just the sort of toy that all children like to play with. Ich habe einen crocodile suit! Or whatever crocodile suit is in German. I would look, but quite frankly I can't be bothered. And that's it for another Poundland special here at the Big Daddy D Reviews. I'm sure we're going to keep these going just as long as Poundland continues to come up with these batshit insane ideas for its range of original action figures. So, until next time, this is the Big Daddy D signing out. Goodbye.
Well, it does look rather mispainted, and look at those arms, it looks like there's horrible growths, and there's a terrible paint job in his hair.
That is the least of this figure's problems. The fact that it looks like a cos-playing Adolf Hitler, I think, is the most obvious thing that you spot.
Hitler with like a different body than the rest of his other stuff.
Again, it's Adolf Hitler cosplaying as a purple crocodile.
Doesn't even look like a crocodile, it looks more like Godzilla.
That is the least of this figure's problems! Never mind pointing out all the little things, the fact that it's Adolf bloody Hitler cosplaying as a purple freaking crocodile, for crying out loud.
Dinosaur thing.
Oh, whatever!